We are back, everybody. Steve Goldstein, Randy Moeller. This time, our Stanley Cup final preview. The Panthers will take on the Edmonton Oilers. Randy, first, the Panthers getting back to it. A year ago, they lost that Game 5 in Vegas. They were on a mission from mid-September right on through. Only the second team in 40 years after losing the Stanley Cup final to go back the next year.
Yeah, but this is a bit different Panther team this year. Last year when they, let's call it, they limped into that final series against the Vegas Golden Knights. They had numerous injuries, and it looked like the fatigue had taken over. This year, it's a much different team. We know that the Panthers are a much bigger, stronger team, and they have more depth. And it looks like going into game number 1, the Panthers are 100% healthy.
Yeah, that's a big change from a year ago, certainly. The playoff run, knock off Tampa, Boston, New York. A lot of fun for fans to beat those teams. Only 5 losses in the 16 games. How impressed were you, particularly the way they closed out the Rangers series? Those last few games were really dominating defensively.
Well, I think that's where the depth comes in, and depth and goaltending and, of course, special teams, which will play a huge part in the finals against the Edmonton Oilers. We'll delve in that in just a moment. But the way the Panthers went about their business and kept to their game structure, they're a physical team, they're a forechecking team. They rely a little bit on the special teams as well. And then Sergei Bobrovsky, he wasn't tested a lot in that Ranger series, but when he was called upon. He came up with those big saves, as you and I talk about all the time, at critical times during games, and that was really the difference. The Panthers really smothered the Rangers and frustrated their star players, Panarin, Zibanejad, even Vincent Trocheck, who had a couple goals in that series, and he was probably their best forward overall, on both sides of the puck. But the Panthers will, and the physicality and the size really cut off all the skating lanes and the passing lanes. And I thought the Panthers, they were dominant in that last game where they really needed to buckle down. I thought the defense, and they were sacrificing, blocking a lot of shots, and as I said, getting in those those shooting lanes. And that was really the difference. Now, will they change going into this final series? Can they change the Edmonton Oilers? They bring a whole new dynamic to this series.
Right, Anton Bobrovsky, by the way, coming into the Cup Finals, allowed 2 goals or fewer in 10 of his last 11 games. And I think the biggest save he made was the one on Zibanejad in Game 4. Panthers trailed the series 2-1, trailed the game 1-0, just gets a piece with the shoulder off the crossbar. Panthers went on to win the game in overtime. You mentioned defense. You mentioned the heavy forecheck. Have the Edmonton Oilers, as good as they've been, and getting to this point with 2 of the best players in the world, McDavid and Draisaitl, have they seen a machine like the Florida Panthers?
No, they have not. Maybe just a touch in the Vancouver series for the Edmonton Oilers, where they got frustrated because of that heaviness that Vancouver was able to produce for a couple of those games. But they were able to skate out of that. And I thought, I give full credit to the Edmonton Oilers. They made some adjustments, not only with their lines, but their style of play and how they went about getting past the Vancouver Canucks. And then, of course, the Dallas Stars. Everybody thought the Dallas Stars were going to be the favorites to come out of the Western Conference. Well, Edmonton, with that high-end offensive talent, I mean, Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman, I mean, they just continued the attack. And if they're able to execute, which they were, and bring their game to a new level, that's the reason why they're in the finals for the first time in a long time.
So how does their defense, and we talked about this with Tampa, with Boston, with the Rangers, over the course of a long series, how does their defense handle that relentless, heavy Panther forecheck?
Well, they proved it in the Dallas series when Dallas really tried to get their forechecking going and play their heavy game. They moved the puck extremely well, and some of the passes are a little risky. They get themselves into trouble. But those defensemen for the Edmonton Oilers, they're pretty mobile. Darnell Nurse back there, he's going to probably play 30 minutes a night. You got Bouchard as well. They cannot hang on to the puck. And if the Panthers are able to get that extra step, they're going to get smothered in their own zone, the Edmonton Oilers. But if they move the puck quickly, like they proved in the Dallas series, they're going to have a pretty good success coming out of their own zone. It's all about exit out of your own zone for both teams. And, you know, you can dive into all the statistics. I mean, the statistics, they don't lie, but they can be deceiving. But I think with the Edmonton Oilers, they know what they have and how they could be successful. And, you know, Paul Coffey has done a remarkable job as assistant coach handling that Edmonton defense. We'll see here in the first couple of games whether they can handle that forecheck of the Panthers.
And we'll see over the second portion of the series if they can continue to handle it, because the Panthers will wear you down and frustrate you, certainly. Star-studded matchups in the middle. This is going to be a lot of fun. You got Barkov, Bennett, Lundell, McDavid, Draisaitl. Panthers open it up at a wild Amerant Bank Arena on Saturday night. Paul Maurice, just go Barkov against McDavid and then see what happens from there? I
think so. With the home ice advantage, the Panthers, Alexander Barkov, the best two-way player in the NHL, the best defensive forward in the NHL. He's gonna pride himself in taking that assignment. It's not going to be easy because Connor McDavid is the best player in the world by far. He's undisputed. The way that he can combine the speed, the agility, and make those plays at the high speed that he generates is very difficult to defend against. I think, Goldie, we're going to see a little bit of a difference here for the Panthers. If I'm reading the way Edmonton's going to come into this series, the Panthers are the best team in the NHL one-on-one coverage in their own zone. I think there's going to be a little bit of adjustment when McDavid and Draisaitl are on the ice. The Panthers might slip a little bit more into that zone defense. And we'll be able to comment on that as the series goes on. But I think that adjustment is what is going to have to be needed to be successful against Connor McDavid when he's out there on the ice. Awareness, take away his skating ability, make him stop and start. And then, as you mentioned, as you go into a long series, then that fatigue starts to settle in, and then fatigue makes cowards of us all, and we're not able to execute, doesn't matter what we're doing.
Yeah, we'll see how the Panthers operate that five-man unit against a guy like McDavid. Obviously, Paul Maurice, all those years in Winnipeg, has a lot of experience coaching against Connor McDavid. He has seen it all. Panthers healthy and rested coming into this series. Kind of underlying, really intriguing to me, especially the games in Edmonton, Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk, former Flames. Tkachuk's first.
Well, they're going to be fan favorites when they go into that building.
Especially
in
Matthew, because he flat out goes out and says he hates Edmonton. How fired up are they going to be?
Oh, they just thrive. They just thrive on that. There's going to be a lot of emotional highs and lows in this series, and the way the Panthers have built, they have the experience, they have the confidence, not the arrogance, but the confidence that they're going to be able to handle that. It is going to be just absolutely wild, not only the first two games down here in South Florida, but also those first two games that are going to be in Edmonton. The Edmonton Oilers fans are very knowledgeable, and they are going to bring the energy. And the Panthers, they've faced that before. They faced it in Tampa. They faced it in Boston. They faced it at Madison Square Garden, and it doesn't faze them at all. They're going to need that maturity in this final series.
Yeah, they've been amazing on the road, really, over the last couple of years, especially in the playoffs. When you get down to it, a lot of talk, obviously, as we have about the star players, but Edmonton's defense, since Chris Knobloch took over, is pretty good. And the Panthers, I thought they were just laying in the weeds a little bit. All the talk about Kucherov and Point and Stamkos and Pasternak and Marchand and Panarin. Panthers got a pretty good offense themselves. They got a 57-goal scorer, a lot of depth. Now with that third-line scoring, is an underlying key to this series Edmonton's 5-on-5 defense against the Panthers' offense, which at some points in the playoffs has been overlooked?
Well, you ask so many coaches, and you can ask Paul Maurice as well, the best defense is a good offense and puck possession. The Panthers are a puck possession team like the Edmonton Oilers. And if they are able to control that puck in their own zone, the exits, the neutral zone, not give the puck away, and then be able to get into the Edmonton end, and then they can cycle and work their forechecking and their puck movement, and we know they got the chemistry. But Edmonton's going to try and do that the same way. I agree with you. Edmonton, their 5-on-5 is much improved. And how about the special teams? Their penalty killing. They've killed, 28 penalties, opponents' power plays off in a row?
Both teams have basically last round and a half, haven't given up a power play goal. They're the best 2 penalty-killing teams in the playoffs.
So something's got to give. I mean, somebody's got to get a power play goal. I think this series is going to come down to goaltending. I think the Panthers have the advantage with Sergei Bobrovsky, the experience that he has. I mean, Stuart Skinner has really come on, but you got to remember, Stuart Skinner, he early on in the playoffs this year, he struggled a little bit in their first couple series. He was actually replaced for a couple of games. Sergei Bobrovsky's got the time off now, the refocus, both mentally and physically. I think it's going to go for the advantage for the Panthers in goal because Sergei Bobrovsky has the experience and in that, and I think that might be the difference. And then special teams. Do
you think Skinner, in particular, has faced a team like this? You know, the Panthers get to the net. They will agitate. And Matthew Tkachuk, by the end of the series, had Igor Shesterkin punching him in the stomach, yelling at him, whether it was English or Russian, who knows. Has Stuart
It was
Skinner,
like my household.
Every day. Has Skinner seen anything like what he's going to see?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. This is a new dynamic for him and how he's going to handle that pressure and that. Yeah, Tkachuk is going to be in that kitchen. You know, the Panthers' third and fourth lines are going to be crashing the net as well, and they plays off the Panthers' strength. It's going to be very interesting to how Stuart Skinner, he's never been in this position before. So this is new to him. The Panthers have, Sergei Bobrovsky has in goal. He knows that Evander Kane and some of these players are going to try and cut in Hyman into that blue paint or whatever. Bobrovsky's been down that road before.
Final thing, we talked to Paul Maurice quite a bit during the season before the playoffs. We chatted with him. We asked, is there a guy that when this thing is over, we're all going to say, oh, wow, he emerged? And immediately his answer was Anton Lundell. Yeah. Anton Lundell had a fantastic series against the Rangers. Great last 2 games with Losterina and then Tarasenko on that wing. Is that third line, and in particular Lundell, the X factor in the series?
I think so, and we discussed that before the last series against the New York Rangers.
I don't remember what we discussed, but
it was Anton Lundell and that line. You know, you look at the lineup of the Florida Panthers, and there's so many players that you point at. You know that the Barkovs and the Reinhardts, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk, Bennett. Who are some of the other players that are going to have a big role if the Panthers are able to win this series? And you look at Tarasenko when he scored that big goal in game number 6. You look at Evan Rodriguez and his speed and how he can create the offense. Wow, he can be a series maker for this team. Back on the blue line, Nico Mikkola, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. These players, because you know Forsling and Ekblad are going to have the spotlight as the number 1 pair. But Brandon Montour, he's going to get a lot of opportunity to skate with that puck. He could be a difference maker as well. There's so many X factors, but it goes back, I think, where the Panthers have the edge is when you have that Anton Lundell coming in that third hole that's very tough for matchups for the Edmonton Oilers or any of the teams that the Panthers have played this year, and it might be the X factor.
All right, third time in franchise history to a Stanley Cup final, back-to-back years. First time the Panthers will start at home. I got room
for a ring, Goldie.
Did you
right
size
there.
it up?
Oh
there?
yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah. I could get it on that fat finger of mine. That'll be fine.
12 down, 4 to go.
That's it.
Day by day. Thanks everybody for always joining us.